After you, good sir.
Alrighty then. Hello, my name is Steve Townsend here once again with,
Blake Brooding.
and today we are continuing our series of videos to help new and upcoming aspiring whip makers and just general advice for people who want to get into the craft or first learning the craft. Or
That generally have
what
nothing to
have
do
you.
with the actual craft itself. Like,
Yeah.
well, this series is about the non-whip making side of whip making.
The business side or the numbers side or the materials side or whatever. So in this particular video, we're talking about something kind of interesting, dealing with how to talk to or how to get a good rapport built up with, how to find out what a customer wants when the customer that you're dealing with doesn't have any experience with whips. They don't know what kind of whip they want. They're probably not even aware of how many different kinds of whips there are.
They just finally got old enough and maybe right out of their divorce and said, "That's it." That's it. I'm finally getting a whip. I wanted my whole life. I'm buying it. You know, it's a pretty common customer there.
So yeah, you might have a 12-year-old kid, you might have a 60-year-old man, but yeah, this video just geared for that customer that you get that, and I just had one here recently where, the gentleman, actually he had one whip before, and then he'd had for many, many years. But when it came down to what he wanted, what I offer on my site was really not like anything that he had. So, those customers can be tricky to deal with because you can give them too much information. You can ask them all the wrong questions and not really find out what they want. So what it's really all about in my mind is finding out what it is that you offer that is best suited for this customer. And so, where's a good starting point? Like, what do you think?
Well, most customer service, like, this isn't just a video about customer service, all right, or how to deal with customers. They vary. This is really focused towards that guy that never got a whip and says, "Oh, I want a whip finally. I don't know what to get. You're the whip maker. Help me." And you'll get that eventually if you haven't yet. You get a lot of first timers that decided to do it, and so we're kind of gearing towards that. And the thing is, I think most everything in life, whatever you do, there's the status quo. There's the people that generally look at it like X and do things like X. And then there's the person that comes along and does it like Y, which is usually backward to X. He is unorthodox compared to their orthodoxness. So I want to try to look at what I think commonly happens, and I'll explain the generality why this generally happens. And what it is most people say, you want a whip? And they'll feel like, well, what you should start off on, most common thing, is either a 6 or 8 foot bull whip or a target handle whip or a 4.5 or 4 or 5 foot, a 4.5 foot to a 6 foot stock whip, which is about the same as a 6 foot to an 8 foot bull whip, and or you can do it a snake whip. But first of all, I just want to say this: every whip cracks about the same. So I mean, you could say that. Well, most people say you should start with a 6. That's what they do. You start with 6, 8 foot bull whip, target whip, stock whip, snake whip. They're all about the same thing because what it takes to make a whip crack, it takes the same thing to make every whip crack. But think of it like a sword. Well, you have a fencing saber compared to a two-handed broadsword. It's the same motion to cut, but your body mechanics have to change just a little bit depending on the length, the weight, the size, the drag time. Is it quicker or faster? So, the cracker is the most important thing. And any whip theoretically should crack and should crack the same way as the others. Some are just easier or more designed for certain jobs that are better. But, first understand that any whip, see, the way I see it right now is, well, any whip can crack, so, but a lot of people want to suggest that generality. I think it's the most common thing. But the thing is, it don't work. And it don't work for most people because a lot of people, they don't really want an 8, 4, or a 6, or even though they don't know, it turns out that's not what they want, And so I think the biggest problem is in anything, you just assume everyone fits into this one role and that they will just want this 6 to 8 foot for a first time, and you couldn't be farther from the truth half the time. So my suggestion is when you're developing understanding in a customer's point of view, it's not about what I think they want, because what I think they want can be wrong. It's about trying to get them to try to understand what they want, and I can read it better. So I would recommend, instead of giving them the generality they'll get from every other whip maker they contacted prior to you, I do things differently. What I would do is say, well, first of all, why do you want a whip? Well, I don't know. What do you mean? Well, I mean, you want to crack a whip. Well, why do you want to crack a whip? And they may not be able to answer. So what I'm really asking is, if they don't know why, like they can't say, well, I saw an Adam Winrich video, or I want to do cracking, or I want to do targeting, or I saw Anthony Longus in this movie, or I just want to be Indiana Jones. I mean, they don't always know what they want. Like, I just want to target, I just want to do this, or I need this. I mean, it's the first whip. So it is good to know why you want it. And they'll say, well, just to learn. So you say, well, what inspired you? Like, why are you calling me today? Like you're 34 years old. What made the call? Mm-hmm. And that can really help you out. First of all, let them explain. What was it? Was it Indiana Jones as a kid and you're finally getting whipped? Was it there's this guy on a cattle ranch who always had a whip and now you finally realize later I always wanted to play it but I didn't. Now I'm retired. Was it because you watch Adam Winrich and you're thinking about two-handed routines? Is it Anthony Longus and you're trying to get in the movies business, or you just like the idea of targeting and stuff you see me do, or other stuff, or self-defense? I mean, what is it that made them think I want to whip? Because not all martial arts are the same. They don't always go to the same martial art academy when you sign up. So that's the first thing. What is it you want? Now, that they may not be able to answer what kind of whip they need, but they can at least answer what got them into it, and now we can start talking. Oh.
It's a good place to start. You might find out immediately that this person is coming from the more kink and fetish community.
He doesn't want anything over 4 feet.
Yeah.
Or 3 feet. You barely over 3. You'd be stupid to recommend him right off the bat a 6 and an 8 foot. He's like, I can't use that. I never want to use it. When I think of whips, why would I want that?
They may even just want a slapping whip, something that doesn't crack at all. But,
You just don't know. So to already put everyone in a mold that you want a box truck, or you want the family economy vehicle of an 8 foot. An 8 foot's an economy whip. That thing is slow and sluggish. You can't do fast crack. Yeah, you can target, you can crack it every way, but I'll tell you what, take an 8 foot Indiana Jones and try to get good volleys. See how long their shoulders will hold out, or also how long it takes to crack it out. You guys are making these 6 and 8 foots, and they're not a Ferrari. Okay, they're not even lightweight whips. They're a beast of a bat sometimes, and that's good for people that want an Indiana. Not that Indiana Jones always bats or beats, but it's good to want an Indiana Jones 8 foot for the reason you want an 8 foot, and to crack it the way Indy did, or to carry it it's not what I would use to do a targeting competition or a two-handed routine competition. It's a different vehicle for a different purpose for that family. And I think it's another problem. A lot of people just watch a video and know how to make one model of car. They know how to make a box truck, and they think everyone needs a box truck or a family sedan. And I'm like, there are so many vehicles for different reasons. I mean, that a boat and an airplane is the same thing as a car, but they're made for different terrain they can travel. So I mean, they're part of the vehicle category too.
My passion when I first got started was the Indiana Jones, and I loved Indiana Jones, and I wanted
Same
an Indiana Jones whip. And
I think Zorro, Indiana Jones, and a hero whip, and swinging or fighting. That's what I think of.
Right, but I always loved the Indy whip and how rugged it looked and the way it looked. But I don't ever want to stop and make the assumption that everybody who calls is just going to love an Indiana Jones whip, because they're not. So that's not an assumption you want to make. And what really boils down to is getting to know this customer. One of the things that came up with a guy that I was recently talking to was that he was, in fact, not wanting to do anything fancy. Doesn't want to do volleys and all this crazy stuff. Yeah, he just wants to go out, and he's literally using it as his tool to work some cattle. So it's something.
It's a tool, which they are. Technically, these are all tools. Like, even to do all this fancy cracking, well, that's a performance tool, not a work tool. It's still a tool. These are not toys. These are tools.
But he's old and he's getting along in years, and so we both, through that and other things we conversed about, came to the conclusion that what he needed was a target whip for this gentleman. Just because I didn't recommend a real heavy bull whip like an Indy whip with a lot of lead weighting in it, 10
or an 8-inch handle. I mean, the guy's on horseback, right? I mean, not that you can't do it. You can make any whip work on horse. I mean, that's another thing too. People like, to be on a horse, you need to have a 12-inch handle or a stock whip. And I'm like, so you're telling me it's impossible cracking any other horse on horseback? Are you freaking kidding me? So you're saying because my handle is 4 inches shorter than yours, that I'm going to hit my horse? Well, if your window of margin of error is 4 inches, so you can't use a whip on a horse because you can't compensate for 4 inches. You've got to realize it ain't that. These models are different, and they do help out certain things, but they're not that different. They all crack the same. You do crack or can adjust.
Yeah, same basic notion, but it's important to get them what they want, because when a customer's spending that kind of money on a whip, they want to get what they want, even if it comes down to the color. Sometimes you'll have a customer that get a whip and they didn't like it. They want a different one because they don't like the color of this whip. It's not.
It's darker than I thought it would be. Like, I've seen pictures where it was a little more bright.
Right. Yeah, the picture of Saddle Tan I saw on the interwebs is different than this one.
It's a little brighter. Yeah. Because it's a natural product and it's on the ballpark.
Rightfully so.
So we take it back, we make them another one, we try to pick through as bright as skins we can, but Sometimes it's just the pictures, lining plays it. Like, he can take that whip and put it in the lining and put it in, and look just like the picture probably he liked, So,
Right.
but dealing with the customers, like I said, first of all, you want to say, well, what do you know what you want to do with the whip? Well, they say maybe they might just say something. I just want to learn to crack, and I just want the basics. But once again, it's like, well, what basics? Two-handed routine, targeting, wraps, partner work, self-defense. There's a lot of stuff. So instead of giving them generality, just say, try to get to that. Let them talk about themselves. It won't take long. They'll explain what got them into it, why they're excited, and these are goals. And then I'll tell them, I'm like, well, I'll even say, any whip can technically work at this point. I know some of them might work better for you for what you want, but I would like you to try, if you can, think about your next immediate goals. Like, do you see stuff where you want to do like a Sydney Flash or whatever they call it, or a quick fast-paced routine, or do you think you might want to target in the future? Like, if you give me any more idea of what you're wanting, maybe we could talk about a model that will then not only teach you the basics, but also allow you, because you can learn the basics from any whip, to hopefully move on to that category. So once again, you're not buying two whips. So I try to do that. But heck, it turns out the guy should just get a nylon for $150 off of some regular maker. I'll tell him, don't buy from me yet. Why don't you do this? And like, what you want, that's better. And if you want to grab a kangaroo thing, you'll know more what to buy than or not. Or,
right.
Just getting the customer the right person and the right whip in their hand to me is more important than me getting the sale. That's another thing. I don't care if I get a sale. I have never cared if I get a sale. I want sales, but I don't care. I want to make sure whoever this is gets the right whip in their hand, whether it's mine or Steve's or yours. I don't care. Because the first time that customer gets exactly what they want, and so they can do what they believed in their heart they wanted, then they're going to now be a permanent addition to this whip family that we're all part of. Right. And so I want them to have the right whip at the right price by the right guy that gets them what they want, so they saved as much money as possible, got exactly what would work for them, and don't have to get wasted out. Like, well, I did like it, but then I realized I live in Seattle and I just don't want it in the rain. Oh, well.
There's a lot to it. It's again, I just keep coming back to getting to know your customer better, because once you can, and you got to stop thinking about things in terms, again, like I said earlier, I tend to look at things the way I look at things. So I think about what I would like in a whip, but I can't do that because this person is not me. So I have to find out as much about them and what they need and what they want, what they expect, because I can't, again, if I just send them what I like or what everybody else liked or what all those indie fans like, they might be really dissatisfied.
I like to explain this by the complications I have, and I'll just use with Adam Winrich and Anthony DeLongis. So like when we make a whip for Anthony DeLongis, he's got certain things he wants done that has nothing to do with the model, but he wants it to be braided as tight as a tiger all the way down, and he wants to make sure when it cracks out with a little effort that the whole whip stays on this line in a rail, and no matter how tight you braid it, that also takes a certain skill set to keep that going the way he wants it. Adam Winrich, he'll be like, braid it tight for 9-10 inches past the training, and then just back off a little. I want it a little more relaxed, just a little, don't go loose. And so I would make one the way Adam wants, like, oh, here's exactly how Adam wants it, and I want a taper even a little quicker than I normally do, or he wants this, and then I'll make it for Anthony, thinking, I finally get an order for Anthony, give it to Anthony. He's like, well, I got one that I tried, it was braided tight, but the second one was loose. I don't like it as much. I'm like, well, I thought you'd like it better, because that's the way Adam, or whatever it goes, So, that's another thing too. I mean, they're different people. When you're talking about these top guys, you cannot braid the same whip for one guy for the other, but you'd think you would, because, well, that's Dino and Adam, and that's Dino and Anthony, that's Dino and whoever. And I'm like, no, not every fighter fights the same ring or uses the same size weapon or is as tall or as strong or as whatever. They have different styles which affect crackability. Adam wants something loose and responsive for fast-paced, quick routines. Anthony wants something that's as true as a sword, that's just a flexible blade that'll continue his cut wherever he goes. So they're inherently different fundamental understandings of how to crack a whip. So there are different ways and different branches of the family tree to learn. And that's why you got to know what they want to do with it in the first place. I mean, you could save a 30-minute conversation trying to get them to figure out what it was if they just told you, I want a 3-foot whip for my partner. You wouldn't even have gone through all that,
Right.
But start with why they want it, what got them into it. That's usually pretty golden with that. You can give them some other suggestions from there. But like, well, if you're wanting it for this, well, if you like, are you an indie fan or you want to like an indie whip? Because they show you a picture. I want this whip. I'm like, you want that exact whip? They're like, well, I'm not an indie fan. I don't care. I'm like, okay, so you don't care. That's natural. I mean, they'll be able to explain it to an extent. You get through it, but
I would say another thing that would be important would be to don't absolutely start blowing their minds with options as far as, do you want 16 plat? Do you want 32 plat? Do
You can
want
get this
two-tone?
knot.
Do you want this knot?
Do you want a
that
5.674
knot?
knot or a 7.62 knot, or do you want a pineapple? I mean, it's like they don't know what you're even talking about. Even people that have had tin whips don't really know. It's jargon. It's like, if you don't understand how an engine works in a car, and they start talking about, oh, it's bored out CCs, it's got Hemi. I thought Hemi was like a power engine. I thought, nah, Hemi's just a stabilizer that holds your car in place. I'm like, why does everybody care about Hemi? Oh, well, they're off road and bouncing. I'm like, no one knows what Hemi means unless you know what Hemi means. So it's just like it blows everything. I don't know what you're talking about. You want to talk about getting what the product is so that they can do what they want to do and accomplish their goal or their dream, not how it's made. They don't care how the steak is prepared.
Yeah.
Or that it has these knots, unless they are wanting a replica whip from an iconic whip. Like, I want the Indiana Jones Raiders. I want the Jack of Crystal Skulls. Like, it has to have these knots. It has to have. Otherwise, But,
Yeah, trying to get a new customer who's new to whips to completely from start to finish, design from scratch the exact.
try to customize it that much for them. You could have made 3 whips in that time. Should have just sent them one and said, you like it? No, I want this change, and then did it. Still probably save time, but ultimately I would say this, like, time. This is an old adage in any business, but time is money, and even if you're not a business and you're a hobby, I mean, I have people that call me and I'll spend on the phone 2 hours talking to them. It'll take it out of my day, but I don't mind. Hour and a half. I really don't mind about that, but time is money. I have customers just call me, not even talk about whips. I'm all right, I'll do that. But when you're trying to get on the phone or get off the phone or get somebody an order, see, not everyone wants to talk for a half hour or hour. They want to get enough information to get whatever they want and then maybe check other people out. They're not even there for you. So you kind of need to develop a system, if it is a business, to where you can kind of get the right information back to them and the right way to respond to get them more dialed in and help them with it in ways that if they are the one that gets to continue to call or bow out, you don't have to keep getting them in these things to, like they call it verbal jitsu. Do you know when you run a business and you're trying to get them to buy your car or get them on your lot? There's verbal jitsu where you're trying to get them to constantly stay on the phone and constantly get them to answer questions so that they're always on the fire and they stay on. Well, I get that. That's not what I want here, because I'm not trying to get anyone to yes. All right, when you're trying to get someone to yes, marketing will tell you to just do that. You keep asking them questions, and I mean, I am going to ask them questions, but my questions are to keep them on the ball, to get them on the phone line. And my questions are to help them figure out what they want, tell them you need to go here or somewhere else. So I do try to, the more you handle calls, the more you can eliminate this process, and you'll find your own way, the way you talk, the way you don't, ways to eliminate things, or, not every customer falls into that mold. Some will fall somewhere into that 6 or 8 foot mold, but they don't all do. And, some people aren't even available for customers. Some people don't even give them a phone number for that reason. They just talk online when they can. It's another thing. So, but
I would say avoid generalizations, and like you said, everybody wants to recommend a 6 to 8 foot target whip or bull whip, and it's ironic because that's exactly what I ended up selling that
guy
getting him into was, again, a target whip, because he was.
But again, he didn't want to assume it was to be the 6 to 8 foot target whip area, but it just happened to be.
That's because it's fairly close to what he had, and in that situation again, it's a bit different because